Okay, let's dive in. Imagine, just for a second, finding a text. It's incredibly short, only 3 verses long. Yet, according to loads of scholars who've studied it, it somehow holds the entire essence of a major faith, like a complete blueprint for life. Seems like a huge claim for something so brief, doesn't it?
It really does. And that's exactly what we're looking at today, guided by these scholarly commentaries you mentioned.
Yeah, we're doing a deep dive into Surah Al-Asr. That's the 103rd chapter of the Quran.
Right. And it's quite something. How much wisdom can be packed into so few words? We're going to explore what these academic analyses bring out.
Exactly. So just to be clear, our sources today aren't the original text itself, but these really deep interpretations from scholars over time.
Think of them like expert lenses, yeah,
Ah.
helping us see all the different layers of meaning packed into this very, very short chapter.
Okay, so what's our mission here? Basically, we want to unpack the core message of this incredibly brief but, well, clearly impactful surah. We need to get a feel for its history, why it meant so much to the early followers. And, probably the main thing, pull out the key insights and, practical lessons that these sources say it offers for dealing with life's challenges, striving for success.
Both here and, in what comes next, even today.
Yeah, what timeless blueprint can we actually find here based on this material?
Well, let's set the stage then. You mentioned how short it is, just 3 verses. But the commentaries, they highlight figures like Maulana Maududi. He apparently called it a capsule summary of the Quran, which is wow.
A capsule summary for the whole thing. That's extraordinary.
It really is, and it tells you how highly regarded it is, not just modern scholars like Maududi, but classical figures too. People like Imam Shafi, Ibn Akay, Sayyid Qutb, they all pointed to its massive importance. Imam Shafi's famous quote, you see it cited a lot in the commentaries, is basically that if people just really thought about this surah, this one, it would be enough for their guidance.
Enough. Just this tiny chapter. That's a lot of weight on 3 verses.
It is.
So what was going on when this was revealed? What made it so critical, especially for those early followers?
Right, so the sources generally place its revelation in early Mecca. And this was a really tough time for the new Muslim community. They were facing serious opposition, ridicule, even persecution from the wider society.
Okay.
Plus, lots of people around them were just completely caught up in worldly stuff, material things, maybe ignoring the deeper questions.
So in that context, this surah wasn't just some abstract theology, it was practical.
Oh, absolutely not abstract. The commentaries really emphasize it was like a lifeline, comfort, strength, a spiritual anchor for those early believers. It was telling them, be patient, stick together, support each other, hold on to your core beliefs, even when it's hard.
Mm.
And its relevance isn't just historical, right? Anyone today feeling overwhelmed by opposition or just the noise of modern life, its message about resilience and living with purpose still hits hard.
And you included that really interesting detail about the Prophet's companions, peace be upon him. One source mentioned this practice they had.
Ah, yes.
They wouldn't leave each other's company without one reciting Surah Al-Asr to the other. That feels significant. Why that specific ritual?
It really points to how they understood its practical value, doesn't it? Like a quick, regular check-in. It was so short. It was perfect for that kind of exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And the commentaries suggest it wasn't just habit. It was a conscious thing, a mutual reminder of their core values, their life's purpose, the conditions for real success.
Like a spiritual handshake. I like that description.
Exactly. It embeds these crucial lessons right into their daily interactions, making sure they didn't lose sight of what truly mattered amidst all the struggles and daily grind.
A spiritual handshake shows it was meant to be lived, not just recited.
Precisely. And this practice really highlights the surah's main theme, which is laid out right away. It's fundamentally about time. Then there's this sobering verdict on humanity's default state.
Okay.
And finally, a very specific 4-part path that offers the way out, the path to salvation and true success.
Right, let's break that down then, verse by verse, based on how the sources analyze it. Verse 1 starts, Wal-Asr, usually translated by time. Why an oath by time?
Well, in the Quran, when the divine swears an oath by something, it immediately signals its huge importance. Time here isn't just background scenery. It's presented as an active witness, a fundamental reality tied directly to our destiny, our accountability. It flags that what's coming next is seriously linked to time itself.
And the word Al-Asr itself,
Mhm.
the commentaries say it has multiple meanings.
Yes, several layers discussed by scholars. It could mean time absolute, all moments, past, present, future. Or it could specifically mean the declining day, the afternoon. which is a powerful symbol, isn't it? Life winding down, urging you to think about how you've spent the day or your life.
Yeah.
It can also imply limited or squeezed time, reminding us our time here is finite, we have to use it properly.
But the idea that really jumps out in these sources, the one that feels quite urgent, is time is capital.
Ah, yes, this is where it shifts, isn't it? From maybe an abstract idea to something very relatable, almost like a business proposition. Commentaries often frame time as this incredibly valuable capital, like money or assets that we've been given. It's our primary investment.
Okay.
And the goal of investing this capital in this sort of spiritual business of life is ultimate profit salvation, success in the long run.
And the risk.
Total loss. Utter ruin.
Yeah.
Losing everything.
Wow, so it's like your entire life savings are just ticking away second by second.
Exactly like that. Imam Razi, a major commentator, apparently had this insight, the sources mention it. He heard an ice seller shouting in the market, "Have mercy on someone whose capital is melting away."
Melting away.
And it just clicked for him. That's Surah Al-Asr. Our lifespan is like that melting ice. It's constantly decreasing. If you don't actively invest it in things that bring lasting, eternal value, it just disappears. And the result is pure, unrecoverable loss.
That image, the melting ice, it's incredibly stark. It implies that just doing nothing, being passive, is actually a form of loss because your capital is shrinking anyway.
It totally reframes how you see everyday life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It becomes this ongoing business venture where the bottom line isn't just worldly success, but your ultimate fate. Inaction isn't neutral. When time is your capital, doing nothing guarantees loss because the capital itself is always depleting.
So pulling the threads together from these commentaries on verse 1,
Yeah.
what are the core life lessons here?
Okay, first, definitely a powerful call to value every single moment. It's finite. You can't get it back. It's this incredibly precious gift. Second, it highlights accountability. How we spend our time matters. Every second, every choice about our time carries weight.
Makes sense.
And third, it's a clear push for proactive engagement. Use this capital actively. Don't let it just melt away through procrastination or getting lost in trivial things. There's that hadith one source mentions about 2 blessings people often waste, health and free time. It's a direct challenge to use them meaningfully.
And it really takes time management beyond just being more productive, doesn't it? It makes it a fundamental spiritual duty.
Exactly. How you manage this diminishing capital is presented as absolutely key to your ultimate spiritual outcome.
Okay, and that flows straight into verse 2. After this powerful oath by time comes this really blunt statement. Inland sanalafi kuzer. Indeed, mankind is in loss. That's quite a follow-up.
It is stark, isn't it? A universal verdict delivered right after the oath, which gives it immense gravity and urgency. And the sources stress it's not conditional. It applies to humanity as a whole, with, of course, that crucial exception coming up next.
So what exactly is this this loss? Is it just like failing in business or something?
The commentaries explain it's much, much bigger than worldly failure. It's about spiritual and moral bankruptcy, total destruction. It's the absolute opposite of real success, which they call falah, lasting success in this life and the next.
Okay, so not just losing some money, but losing everything that counts.
Pretty much, the ultimate loss.
And the term al-insan, mankind being collective, means this applies across the board.
Yes, that's the interpretation from the sources. This verdict hits everyone who doesn't embody the qualities listed in the next verse. It's presented almost like a law of nature. Humanity's default path, without conscious, deliberate effort on the right track, leads straight to this state of comprehensive loss.
So salvation isn't the default. It's the active exception you have to strive for.
Exactly. It's a serious wake-up call. It challenges our usual ways of thinking about success, which are often just material, right?
Absolutely. It cuts right through the idea that someone wealthy or powerful is automatically winning.
Right. And the phrasing is in loss, present tense, ongoing suggests it's a current state. Even if you feel like you're doing well by worldly standards without these 4 qualities, the surah implies you are, in this ultimate spiritual sense, already losing your most precious capital.
Wow. Okay, so what key lessons do the sources pull from this rather bleak universal verdict?
Well, first, it really highlights our inherent vulnerability, our precarious state without divine guidance. We're prone to loss by default. Second, it underscores why the divine blueprint offered next is so absolutely essential. It's the rescue plan. And third, critically, it forces some deep, maybe uncomfortable self-reflection. If this is the default, you have to ask, is my life even if it looks successful on the surface, actually aligned with real purpose? Or am I, without realizing it, living in a state of continuous ongoing loss?
That completely reframes success and failure, doesn't it? Moves it way beyond just temporary material stuff. Which brings us, thankfully, to the third verse, the big exception. Except for those who have believed and done righteous deeds and advised each other to truth and advised each other to patience. This, then, is the blueprint, the way to avoid that universal loss.
Precisely. These are the four conditions. They're presented as interconnected, working together, synergistic qualities that carve out the exception to that rule of loss. This is the complete path to ultimate gain, to real success or falah.
Okay, let's look at each one based on your sources. First up, faith, or iman. What does that really mean here?
So iman is defined as sincere, solid belief in the core essentials. Belief in God, his messengers, the revealed books, the hereafter, angels, divine decree. And the sources really emphasize it's not just saying the words. It needs deep inner conviction, rooted in understanding and knowledge. It's the absolute foundation.
Why is faith put first? Why is it so foundational?
Well, the commentaries argue that without this bedrock of faith, everything else, all your actions, they lack ultimate meaning and eternal reward. Maududi's quote puts it well. Without belief in Allah, moral principles become unanchored. Faith provides the essential worldview, right? The framework for understanding why we're here, connecting our limited life to something eternal. It's like the master key.
Okay, faith is the anchor, the foundation. What about pillar number 2? Righteous deeds, amal as saliyat.
This covers basically all virtuous actions, both the outward things we do and our inward intentions. It's about fulfilling our responsibilities, the rights owed to God, and the rights owed to his creation. That means other people, animals, the environment, even ourselves.
And the link between faith and deeds is crucial here, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely critical. Deeds are shown as the proof, the tangible evidence of genuine faith. The sources are clear. Faith without righteous deeds is basically an empty claim. It's presented as a dynamic system. Real faith inspires good deeds, and doing good deeds actually strengthens and deepens your faith. They feed each other.
So your actions really show if your belief is authentic.
Exactly. And a key life lesson here, often highlighted, is that every action counts, no matter how small it seems. Even an atom's weight of good. Plus, the sources often stress consistency. There's a hadith pointing out that the best deeds are the ones done regularly, even if they're small. It's about building good habits, perseverance, not just occasional grand gestures.
Right. Now, the first two pillars, faith and deeds, seem very much focused on the individual, wouldn't you say? Personal belief, personal actions. But the next two seem to shift outwards. The third is tawasa bil haq, mutual exhortation to truth. What is this haq, this truth?
Yeah, haq is a really rich word. It means what's correct, what's just, what's right, what aligns with ultimate reality. It covers the whole truth revealed by God. It can also specifically mean fulfilling rights, God's rights, human rights, even your own rights. And that word tawasa is important. It means mutual, strong advising, encouraging each other, reminding each other, holding each other accountable to the truth.
And this is where the responsibility moves beyond just yourself to the community.
Precisely. This is a major pivot the commentaries highlight. It's saying it's not enough to just be truthful or righteous on your own in a vacuum. Real success, according to this blueprint, actually requires actively encouraging others in your community to uphold truth, justice, righteousness. It involves that shared duty of enjoining what's good and forbidding what's wrong.
So this suggests that achieving full spiritual success isn't something you can just do alone.
The sources make that point very strongly. True success, falah, is not purely individualistic. It's deeply tied to the well-being, the moral health of the whole community. You actually can't reach the full measure of salvation if you neglect this shared responsibility to support and guide others towards truth. Some sources even suggest neglecting community welfare can hinder your own path.
Wow, that really broadens the scope of what spiritual practice involves. Okay, pillar 4. Tawasa bis sabr, mutual exhortation to patience. Why patience? And again, why does it have to be mutual?
Well, sabr, often translated as patience or endurance, is also multifaceted. It means being steadfast in doing what's right, obedience, actively holding back from what's wrong, sin, and bearing hardships, trials, difficulties with fortitude, with trust in God. It's basically moral strength, resilience. Some sources even call it half of faith.
Okay, but the mutual part, again, why the need to remind each other to be patient?
Because living by truth, doing the right thing, especially when you're trying to encourage truth in others, it's hard. That's the reality the sources acknowledge. You're going to face challenges, temptations, opposition, setbacks, personal struggles. It's inevitable. So believers need to actively support each other, encourage each other, remind each other, stay strong, persevere, endure this difficulty without giving up your principles or falling into despair.
So it's like an inbuilt support system acknowledging we can't always manage these struggles entirely on our own.
Exactly. The commentaries often link this mutual patience directly to the challenges of the previous pillar, advising truth, often brings friction or difficulty. So mutual support is crucial for collective resilience. It stops people from burning out, giving up, or compromising when things get tough. It ensures the whole effort, individual and communal, can be sustained long term.
Okay, let's try and pull all this together then, based on this deep dive into the sources. We started with that stark warning. Universal loss is the default. But then comes this powerful, interconnected four-part path to escape it. Faith, righteous deeds, mutual truth, and mutual patience. What are the big, overarching life lessons the commentaries draw from this complete picture?
Okay, first, they present this idea of holistic success, falah. It's success that lasts, in this life and the next, not just temporary worldly gain. And its opposite, khusr, is total loss, not just a setback. This fundamentally challenges our usual, often materialistic, definitions of success and failure. It really pushes for a deep shift in priorities.
And that interconnectedness of the individual and the community seems absolutely central too.
Totally. The way the verse itself is structured, moving from the individual pillars, faith and deeds, to the communal ones, mutual truth and mutual patience, it really hammers home that your personal spiritual health is tied up with the health and righteousness of your community. You just can't achieve full success flying solo.
It also seems to offer a really strong basis for spiritual resilience and active engagement, right?
Yes, absolutely. This isn't a passive blueprint. It provides strength and endurance when facing adversity. It encourages steadfastness, trusting the bigger picture, but also actively working for positive change. It's about facing trials not just with acceptance, but seeing them as opportunities for growth and action, rather than letting them lead to despair.
And finally, circling back to where we began, it really cements this idea of time management as a spiritual imperative.
Definitely. Revisiting that potent time as capital metaphor, wasting time being idle, investing your time in things that are ultimately pointless, these aren't just inefficient habits. According to this framework, they're acts of spiritual bankruptcy. So managing your time consciously, intentionally, prioritizing actions that align with these four principles, it becomes fundamental to avoiding that default state of loss.
So to recap, this incredibly short chapter, Surah Al-Asr, packs a massive punch, a serious warning about our default state in time, followed by this clear, interwoven four-part pathway to escape that loss and achieve genuine lasting success, unwavering faith,
Consistent righteous deeds,
mutual exhortation to uphold truth.
and mutual exhortation to persevere with patience.
It really does feel like a timeless blueprint, revealed way back in a time of great difficulty. Its message about navigating challenges, staying true to principles, the value of every moment, and the vital need to support your community. Well, it feels incredibly relevant right now, today.
It offers a solid framework for trying to live a life with deeper purpose, integrity, and mindful action.
So this ancient text, born from a challenging time, lays out what seems like a universal human situation and a fundamental path forward. As we finish up this deep dive into the sources you've brought, how does this idea of time as a constantly dwindling capital, or this deep link between your personal faith and your community's well-being, how does that challenge your perspective on how you live your life, how you define success right now? What, based on all this, does it actually mean for you to be in loss?